Hey, everybody, it's Brandon, and thank you so much for joining me with Social Your Sales Live. As you know, Social Your Sales is my podcast that I host. And because we've had so many great conversations with sales leaders who are adopting social selling, or even those that are hesitant and scared and have questions and have come on, I decided to move to a live event on LinkedIn as well. So today, and I promise we are going to be 18 minutes, no more, because that's what TED Talk does, and we're going to follow their suit because we know you're busy. So today, I want to bring in Mr. Dave Lewark, who is a enterprise sales director with Xactly. And the reason that I wanted to ask Dave to come on here is not only has he embraced social selling activities and his daily cadences alongside his phone calls and his emails and other tools that he uses, but he's also seen the benefits, and it's now influencing how he hires and the conversations he has around building his sales team. So Dave, welcome to
Thank
Social
you, sir.
Sales Live.
Good to spend time with you.
It's good to see you. Absolutely.
You as well.
Well, Dave, in the name of being on time, why don't you share with everybody a little bit about your role with Xactly and a little bit about Xactly, and then we'll move into social selling, and then we'll move into hiring. How's that sound?
Absolutely. So, Dave Lewark, I manage enterprise accounts. So I have a sales team here on the East Coast that your stereotypical 5,000 employee and up type customers. Recently jumped into this role here at Xactly. I've been here for a couple of years, but during my time here, something that I've always kind of embraced, which is leading with value and doing that through my network socially. Really kind of played out very well for me last year. Had a very successful year, oddly enough, during COVID, and it rallied it into an opportunity here. So it's one of those things that I evangelize very regularly with my team. So appreciate the opportunity to talk about it here with you, Brandon. So.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. And I know you and I have had a lot of conversations in the past, and I know you've embraced social selling, and you and I have been a bit aligned in a lot of areas with our approach to social selling and the activities. Would you just share with everybody like what social selling is for you and how you activate that every day?
And for me, it's the hard part I have is calling it social selling, because it's more about engagement of those that you'd like to do business with, you'd like to create relationships with, and always leading with value. I did a short stint at Miller Hyman Group, and CSO Insights was our research arm. And one of the studies that they did, the Buyer Insight study, was one that I've always embraced, which is, customers are more than willing to engage you, but you need to bring insights and perspective to those engagements. So the one thing that I've always found is you don't rush up to somebody and stick your business card in their hand and you start making your pitch. It really does take building that trust and building that engagement, getting that. I think you and I jokingly talked about the Fockers and building, getting in that circle of trust as being a
circle of trust.
You need to embrace. You got to get into that circle. Don't be Greg.
That's right.
But it's so important to lead with value and insights of the problems that your prospective customers are engaging every day, and reaching out and being that advocate for change and helping them find a new path. And frankly, based on last year, that path is a lot different now than it was for them last year. It proved positive. So
yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about that? What your experience has been, because I know you've got McKinsey and Gartner and all the companies out there talking about, hey, the buyer's journey has changed. My personal opinion is I don't know if we ever truly knew what the buyer's journey was,
right?
Because the buyers do whatever they want to do because they have control and they can. Yep. But when you say something like it's all changed, what do you mean, and what have you been experiencing?
First off, the buyer's journey is not linear. It moves around, it changes, it's different for everybody. But the one key attribute to that study that I always go back to is that sellers are typically engaged at 70% of the way through that journey, no matter if that journey is a straight line or it's all over the place. We as sellers are not engaged at the point where we can have an impact on that and help frame up that customer's understanding and help, be that Sherpa along that journey, if you will. And that's, that's a tough thing. And what happens is I use the term line of sight quite a bit, because I think in a lot of cases, it's a matter of, I think about my own farm and people driving past all the time. They drive past, I don't see them. If they toot, I might look up. If they toot and wave, I might look up twice. How does a seller today get in a prospective customer's line of sight, in that I'm here to add value, not just to be the noise, not just to try to get 15 minutes of your time, but to truly add value as you're learning and understanding on ways to solve problems and look at things differently. So last year, it was all of a sudden now people aren't in the office. They're not answering the phones that were at that office. They're working remotely. That's still evolving and changing. So what's the best avenue to do it? It's the same avenue that I've been using for years. Just continue to outreach, connect, and do it with the intent of adding value, not with the intent of selling anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to put this up, the triangle of social selling success model, which is a term that I use, but I know you and I have talked about this a lot. What does that term mean to you, and how does that look in your daily social-based selling activities?
The one thing that I push a lot and speak to a lot of the sellers here, even my own team and other teams as well, is there's certain activities that have to be embedded. It's the rigor around things, your muscle memory, whatever you want to call it, but it's those daily activities of regularly reaching out to connect with customers to say, hey, I'm here, I'm going to add value, I'm not going to try to sell anything. I'm sharing insights and perspective with consistency indirectly, to that customer on those posts. But then there's that just straight out direct engagement with that customer. And I saw something based on what's happening in your world that I think would be of value, and how do I share that with you in a direct engagement to, again, offer that value or that impact, or sharing something that might make your day better. So to me, the triangle of selling it, you kind of need to have those three things for it to stand up. So I don't know if that aligns with what you're thinking.
Yeah, and I think for me, the triangle and the triangle of selling success as a model is really just to help bring visuals for people. And with the triangle, there's three key daily activities that we need to build into our daily rhythm or our daily cadence. And it's one is sending out targeted connection requests, because we have to grow our audience. If we're talking on social, if we're sharing valuable insights and content like you said, but we don't have the right audience, we don't have the right connections, well, we're speaking to an empty room, or we're speaking to the wrong room, which might even be worse. So number one is building that strategic network of prospective customers, and doing it in a good way, right? Not just sending out cold messages, hey, do you want to connect? But I love the term that you use, line of sight. And I use the term eyesight, being in their eyesight. But it brings us into the second piece of the triangle, which is daily engagement with your prospective customers. You're sometimes not even your first connections, but engaging with second or third connections with the goal of building that communication and then becoming a connection. And then the third pillar for me, or the third point of the triangle, is the content sharing. So sharing thought leadership, valuable insight, because the way social works is if we don't open our mouths virtually, right, which means sharing content, nobody knows what we know.
Right.
And then the only way that we get to share with people is if they accept our cold email or our cold outreach that says, hey, do you got time for a demo? Here's my calendar link, which, as you and I both know, the efficacy of that is just dropping every day.
Yeah. And I hate it. I hate getting the SDR. Do you have 15 minutes? Here's my link. Please take your time to go set time on my calendar. I'm like, that's the anti, adding value. You're now getting out of my line of sight quickly,
Yeah. So tell me, share with everybody too. As a sales leader, you've adopted social selling. You had a really good year in 2020 that you attribute to incorporating social into your existing emails and phone calls and other cadences. And now in your leadership role, you are interviewing and hiring and building
Right.
a team. And you shared with me, which is really why I was excited to bring you on. You
Yeah.
shared with me that your lens has changed and what you're looking for has changed. And you
Yeah.
have an example that you wanted to share.
Yeah, and there's two parts to this. I'll share the example first, but then I also want to talk about the other part that I think plays to this very well. We're heavily growth strategy right now. Lots of success last year. We're building on that momentum. So when I took the leadership role, I had some open seats that I needed to fill. So I got into the interviewing process pretty quick as I moved into the role, and one of the first interviews, you go through your stereotypical first check, salary requirements, background, and the like, and then you get to me, and then I'm going to give you that first level engagement of, let's talk about what your background is. I let the potential candidate, ask me some questions and the like, and I'm hoping that they're asking me, what I'm looking for in a candidate and the like. And one of the things I'm always doing is, one, I'm checking their social to see, are they engaged? Is it a resume? Are they actually engaging with content and adding value? What does their network look like? What does their profile look like? So the attributes that I push with my team, I want to see if they're kind of mirroring those. And recently had two that bubbled up, and we got to the final interview. And really, myself and my RVP were comparing between the two, and they were pretty much consistent across the board. There wasn't anything that stood out from one to the other. And I started looking back, and one of these reps, and I mentioned this to him recently when we hired him, was that the differentiator with him was he listened, which is a sales rep. That's number one. You got two ears, one mouth. Do that in proportion. I preach that. But it's also one where he listened to what I had mentioned relative to what I look for around social. He showed up on my profile several times a week. He would like or comment on my posts, and he shared direct content with me that he thought that I might find of value. Those three attributes alone kept him in my line of sight as a seller. Right. So what that meant to me was, this is somebody that listened, he took action, and he engaged me during the process and kept me hooked in. And it was the deciding factor for him getting the job with us, because he did those activities.
Wow, that's great. That's great. Yeah. Wow. And I'm sorry, I got a little flustered because it made me start thinking about one of my partners with DLA Ignite, our digital leadership consortium of social selling trainers around the world, just posted I think an article today, maybe it was yesterday, about job searching and social and how you could use it. And it was very, very similar to what you just shared, is staying in that line of sight, being active and being in front of them. Because with social media, unlike pre-social media, you go to an interview, you do your thing, you leave, you send a thank you note, maybe, a handwritten thank you note or an email.
Yep.
And you can't do anything else, right?
Nope.
If you make phone calls, you're annoying.
Right.
But with social, you could do exactly what this person did with you and go and engage and share articles and be seen and be active. And what a great way to be remembered and stand out.
And it's funny. It's a soft way of engaging now. That's not, I always think about I've joked about being at a party, and the guy that rushes up to you is the insurance sales guy. Nothing against insurance salespeople, but it's the guy that's trying to come up, and he sticks his card in your hand, and the car dealer. You go into a car dealership. We're not leaving here until we got you in a car, kind of thing, and that mindset has shifted, and it shifted in both of those industries. But for me, it was just enough of a touch that it's like I'd get on, and I'm religious. The first thing I do in the morning with breakfast, I'm sitting here reading social posts. What do I want to engage in, and the like. And he was always, his mug was is just the first one in there. And it was just like, this dude is like, he's trying to, and even if he failed across every other aspect of the strategy, or maybe and the other side of this is that I was wanting to lean into is that, I've had a lot of people reach out to me. It's like, hey, I've lost my job, or I'm looking to change. I need to do this LinkedIn thing, and I need to do it now. Well, it's not you didn't do it yesterday, you do it today, and all of a sudden, you've got an SSI score of 80 and you're a thought leader and everybody sees you. It's a building process. And if you're out doing your outreach and regular efforts, not everybody's on social, not everybody engages the same way, not everybody posts stuff for you to like, but you can get into their network, you can understand what's important to them, you can line those up with executive priorities and engage. But you have to do it with consistency every day. And I keep using the term intent. You have to engage a customer with the intent of adding value first. If you don't add value first, you're just a guy trying to stick that business card in the hand. I want you to see me as a resource. And CSOI says that if you do that, the first one to add value, I think it's 76% more likely, I think is the stat. I don't have it handy, but 76% more likely to get the business. And I can tell you, I've seen people engage it all year with me and I say engage, I should take that back, that I engaged them, but I didn't get any pings back. But all of a sudden they're in a sales cycle with me. Hadn't had any interaction. All of a sudden they surfaced because they were the buying influence that was not engaged with me, but I'm still having that influence across, along that process, along that weird journey that we talked about, I'll stop now.
No, you're good. That's all great. And you attribute your ongoing engagement, your consistency with sharing posts, the consistency with growing your network, that those come to the top.
Yep. Every time.
Yeah. I mean, I received just to support this, and obviously I built a business around this, but I received 2 messages today through LinkedIn that I wasn't expecting, but they were both similar in, hey, been watching everything you post, saw a couple of your videos. I'm a sales leader that can I jump on a phone call with you?
Yep.
I got 2 of those today.
Right. But you'll look at those and you might engage compared to the, hey, I've got 15 minutes of time to correct your X problem. Nope.
Right.
Delete.
You got it.
Yep.
Yeah, Dave, we're going to wrap up, but I want to leave you with the last word of any advice to sales professionals or sales leaders out there based on your experiences around social selling.
Social engagement works, but don't try to make it work fast. It is a process of earning trust, and until you're there, it's not for everybody. But you have to do it the right way, and that's just time.
Let me ask this question real quick though before we leave. Then, what do you mean by it takes time?
It's you again. You can't build trust overnight. Getting in the circle of trust takes time. If you want that person to trust you, you have to add value consistently, regularly, and get in that line of sight over a period of time. Trust comes when it comes. You can't force it.
Yeah. And I would add to that though, is it's not years.
No.
It could be weeks and months with a very focused and targeted. So I bring that up because a lot of sales leaders will be like, yeah, we don't have time for that. It's like, well, you actually don't have time to do it.
Not to. If you don't do it now, you'll be wondering why you didn't take the time next year when you miss your quota.
Exactly. Dave, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
I'm going to put down your a link and tag you. So anybody wants to connect with Dave, I know he would love the network growth and he'd love the connection.
I also love it with a message as to why. So
exactly. There you go. Everyone listen up. That's the way you capture his attention.
Appreciate you, Brandon.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, everybody. This was Social Your Sales Live. I will put links down also to the podcast if you want to go check that out as well. We have a new episode every week, and I appreciate you. Love to hear your comments and see what you think, or see what you believe and hear, and think about what Dave shared today. All right, everybody. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful day.
Take care.